Hi, I'm Oscar. I'm currently a football coach in Dallas, but I've lived a colorful life. Before being a coach, I used to work in logistics and security for a company where, well, let's just say not everything was above board. After an incident that changed my life, I decided to resign. I feel like the story behind my resignation is worth talking about. It made me realize that the job was too much for me. At the same time, it's the story of how I met my wife. Honestly, it's like something from a movie. I wouldn't be surprised if I had Michael Bay on my doorstep after this story. Before I get into it, I'll tell you how I got into working in security. I was born in Dallas, where we eat, live, and breathe football. My dad, Wardell, was a big Cowboys fan, and he had me tossing pigskin when I was a little boy. Even my mom, Judy, was a huge football fan, and both of them put their aspirations at a young age. I had a massive growth spurt before middle school, because of my hulking build and love for football. My family took me to see a few coaches. I impressed a few teams at the tryouts and got put on a pee-wee football team. It was my first time playing organized sports, and I loved it. I wasn't the best at first, but I kept at it. I played football all through middle school, and by the end I was in the local news for getting my district their first championship in a decade. Now, you may be thinking, what does this have to do with working security? Well, it does, and it all begins with my biggest mistake falling into the pitfall of the D1 dream. I used to believe that I could make football my career. I even thought I could make it to the NFL someday. My parents were egging me on to pursue football as my calling, and it all seemed to fit together. However, the downside of this single-minded direction was that I had no backup plan. I read somewhere that only 3% of high school players make it to D1, and even fewer with a financial scholarship. My parents didn't have enough savings for me to attend college without a scholarship, so I knew I had to put my heart and soul into it. My grades were never the best, and I had no hobbies outside of football. It all seemed worth it though, because scouts were taking notice of me. I got a call from the coach at Abilene Christian University, a D1 college. They wanted me to play for them. At the time, I was over the moon. After an offer, the exposure would be crazy. After that, there would be brand deals and sponsorships. I felt untouchable. I thought I had made it, but then life got derailed forever. I tore my ACL. It happened during a practice session, not even during a game. The moment I felt the pain sear through me, I knew it was all over. There was no way I could play any form of NCAA football, let alone D1. The football scholarship from ACU fell through, and I had no plan B. I fell into a dark place. After I graduated high school, there was nothing I could do. I holed myself in my mom's basement and moped for almost 3 months. My parents were supportive and tried to push me to attend community college. I wasn't up for it though. Even getting out of bed became a chore for me. I eventually got a job at McDonald's. One day, while flipping burgers, I was approached by a tall, blonde guy. He introduced himself as Benjamin, the founder of JS Security Solutions. His work consisted of running a high-profile security and logistics firm that helped wealthy clients send stuff around the globe. At least that's what he told me at first. Hi, I couldn't help but notice that you're well-built. Do you lift? It's impressive. Haha, thanks. No, I used to play football in high school. Whoa, that's impressive. You look like you could do a lot more than just flipping burgers. What happened? Look, I don't know you, man. Why do you want to know? I'm just trying to figure out whether you're looking for a change, nothing else. I run a company that provides security to celebrities. We also help clients with logistics and delivery. I'm looking for people like you to join my team. You want me to be a glorified bodyguard? It's better than working here, wouldn't you say? Anyway, I'll give you my card. We have an office in Dallas. Feel free to stop by anytime. I left work that day bewildered by my interaction with this mysterious stranger. Honestly, I had never thought about working in security. I went home and told my parents about it. Well, that's something, I'll tell you that. What do you think of the guy? He seemed pretty confident, and I'm not against the whole idea. I think you should go for it, hun. When God shuts one door, he opens another. Who knows, you might come to like it. With that, I went over to speak to Benjamin the very next week. After hashing out the details and asking several questions, I took him up on the job. My first role was going to be his personal security. I was still hesitant about this job, but it was much better than what I was doing before. It paid much more as well. I saved up enough to move out of my parents' house and felt like I had finally regained control of my life. So that's how I got into this job. I was never emotionally attached to it, but it put food on the table. JS Security Solutions paid top dollar, and I was happy to keep working. I guess you could call me directionless. But that's better than being poor and directionless. I worked with several celebrities in the first 6 years of my career. It was fun, I'll tell you that. I never felt bored at work. I even made a bunch of connections with influential people. Despite all that, some things about JS Security Solutions made me uneasy. While I knew that we worked with high-profile clients, sometimes I was unsure about the legality of our company. There was no information on any sites about us, and I got my pay in cash weekly, instead of a check. Strange. Several things happened that made me even more suspicious. People would show up at Benjamin's office with large suitcases and leave without them. Some meetings took place late at night after everyone had left. In fact, I stumbled upon something once that made me feel super nervous. I had left my bag at the office and went back up from my car to pick it up. When I went in, I saw Benjamin talking to a dangerous-looking stranger. When they saw me, they both clammed up. I left in a hurry after that. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it felt like something bigger was happening behind the scenes. I didn't ponder on it too much at the time. I guess ignorance is bliss. One day, I got a call from Benjamin that pulled me into the shady side of the business. "Hey Oscar, how have you been, big guy? I hope you're enjoying the work." "Can't complain, sir. Things are going well." "Yeah, that's great. Hey, I'll need you to come into my office tomorrow, after work hours. Does that work for you?" Sure. What's this about?" "I can't tell you on call. But I can tell you this much, Oscar, you've impressed me. I want to give you a golden opportunity. A promotion, if you will. Meet me tomorrow." I had been ignoring all the red flags up until then, but I couldn't do it any longer. The next day, I waited until everyone had left before I went to speak to Benjamin. "Hey, I'll get right to it. You're someone who knows how to keep their mouth shut. I like that about you. That's what I need for another thing we do at JS Security Solutions. We work with high-profile clients who need stuff transported. It could be anything from an exotic animal to a 17th century relic." Oh? That's it? Yeah, I mean, what were you expecting? I'm not a crime boss, man. It's just that our clients for this side of the business are secretive, and I tend to keep the personal security employees away from all this. We can't have any missing links. Like, I've had bodyguards who work with celebrities texting their friends about it. You don't do anything stupid like that and you focus on the job. That's why I'm letting you in on this. Okay, woo. I have to admit, I was a little worried there. Don't be, I'm telling you it's not illegal. I wanted to give you a larger role. You won't just be given assignments with celebrities if you choose to take this up. You're going to be working on creating routes, doing handoffs, and meeting with clients. Some packages also have to be maintained specially, so you're going to be in charge of that too. I'll pay you a lot more if you do all this, and you're going to be working with another person here. JS Security Solutions always has 2 leads for these deliveries. It makes sure that there are no chances of our guards running away with the goods. It's more common than you think, and the consequences ... aren't pretty. Alright, that all sounds pretty good. What's the catch? There's no catch, but there are a few added risks you need to be aware of. When you were working in personal security, the worst thing you dealt with was the occasional stalker, right? Well, this is a bit more dangerous. We've often had criminals interfering with deliveries or transport. A few people have been injured on the job. That's why the pay is higher. More risk, more reward. Think it over. I'll send the job description to your email ID soon. I walked out of that office feeling a little relieved, but still tense. It didn't seem as bad as I thought, but it was still a little shady. I mean, why wouldn't someone just get all this stuff done through a bank? Was the stuff we were carrying exactly ... legal? I didn't want to pick up the offer. I was making enough as a bodyguard, and doing all this extra work didn't seem to be worth it. However, when I got the offer letter, I nearly had a heart attack. The money was insane. Against my better judgment, I went back to Benjamin and agreed to the role. Boy, I tell you, things just went downhill after that. The partner I was assigned to work with was a guy named Patrick, and we didn't get along from day one. If I had to describe him in one word, it would be sleazy. The guy had a gambling addiction and knew all the wrong people. Yeah, we were both in it for the money, but I wasn't even sure how Benjamin could trust this guy. The work was stressful, and Patrick would try and do things that could get us in trouble. For example, we were once transporting a piece of basketball memorabilia from some millionaire's house in Brazil to Pittsburgh, where it was going to be put on the auction block. It wasn't a serious problem, but there were security concerns in Brazil. I wanted to play it safe and just stay away from the favelas, which are like ghettos in Brazil. But Patrick went way beyond that. To get the transport done faster and therefore with less chance of danger, he contacted some local goons to clear a way for us through the favelas. Of course, that immediately got us on the police's radar. The plan backfired horribly, and our memorabilia was nearly confiscated by the police. That's just one example of why I didn't get along with Patrick. His way of working and his personality were completely different from mine. He also had a gambling problem and did a lot of questionable things on the side to make money. The dislike between the two of us was mutual, but I couldn't ask for a different partner. It's not like we had an HR department I could go and complain to. JS Security Solutions was a informal setup, to say the least. There were only a few people who were involved in the logistics and security of high-value items, and there wasn't a way for me to get out of working with Patrick. The reason I'm telling you about this guy is that he's partly why I quit. Even though I knew something was fishy about him, there was no way for me to bring it up with anyone. Eventually, his underground connections put my life in danger, and it all started in January 2012. I had done a few international deliveries by the time my last job rolled around. Benjamin called me and Patrick to his home for this one, which was already unconventional. We usually got our assignments at the office, after which Patrick and I would sit down together to research travel and the country we were visiting. I gave my terrible work partner a lift, and as soon as he got into the car, he started talking. So what do you think? There must be something special about this one, otherwise the boss wouldn't invite us over to his house. I think it's worth more than anything we've ever transported before. I don't care, man. It's just another job. As long as I get paid, I'm happy. You think small, my friend? You think small. I shrugged my shoulders at Patrick and kept on driving. We reached Benjamin's condo and sat down with a few drinks. After chatting for a bit, Benjamin got us a USB drive and began to speak. Gentlemen, I'm going to be honest with you, this is the biggest job you've ever pulled. But it's simple when you think about it. All I need you to do is to transport this USB drive from here to Naples. You need to be there on the 1st of April, at a prescribed location. A man will come and give you a code word. You hand it over to him and nobody else. After that, you come back home. You do it, and the client is willing to pay a little extra for everyone involved. That included you two. 50 stacks each. What's in the USB, boss? I don't like this. I'll be honest with you, even I don't know what's in here. The guy who gave me this job is very rich and very powerful, and he told me that I'm not allowed to look. I haven't tried and I suggest you don't either. Who cares what's in there? 50 grand is 50 grand. We spoke about logistics and began to plan things carefully. I had an uneasy feeling about all of this, but I kept my mouth shut. After all, I was already in too deep. We planned out our route for months, creating diversions and working by unconventional means. We wouldn't take off from Texas, but traveled to the West Coast before boarding a flight to Paris. From there, we would drive to Italy in a car. Patrick and I were going to pretend to be two brothers on a trip through Europe. This simple USB drive had more planning attached to it than anything else I had worked with before. And I have worked with some wild stuff, I'll tell you that much. I've transported everything from a green Mamba to a Lambo, but this little flash drive was given more importance than even those. As April approached, I began to feel more and more nervous. Patrick also began to behave weirdly. He began to be super secretive and jumpy. While he was never one to usually put effort into planning, this time he was going all in with all the details. I chalked it up to a nervousness about this job. Even though we were both unaware of what was in that flash drive, we both knew whatever was in it was enough to get us into trouble. At least that's what I assumed. Finally, it was D-Day. Patrick and I drove over to Lax in a rented car, then flew over to Paris. There we had organized the purchase of a crappy little French car, a Citroën or something. We stuffed ourselves into it and began driving towards Italy. God bless the European Union and their borders because it was as easy as pie to get through. I mean, all we had to do was not act suspicious. Nobody was on the hunt for the flash drive. We reached Naples 2 days before the handoff and had a room booked in the Spanish quarters. It felt like a pretty shady part of town, and I intended to just stay holed up in the hotel room until the day of the meeting. However, Patrick had other plans. He wanted to spend the evening drinking. Simon, man, let's go out. I'll bring the flash drive with me. Nobody is going to steal it from me, right? It's too risky, man. I don't want to do anything until after we drop this damn thing off. Just wait a few days. Screw that. We've never been to Italy and I'm tired of being so on edge about this delivery. Nobody's given us any trouble so far, everything has been going smoothly. You just need to cut back and relax. I mean, I guess you're right. We can go down to the hotel bar. No, not the hotel bar. Let's go out on the town. Eventually, Patrick convinced me. I began to agree with him on the fact that we were being overly cautious. It couldn't hurt to have some fun, right? Although we were regularly updating our boss about our whereabouts, we skipped telling Benjamin so we could go out to a bar. Naples was beautiful and lively, and I was having a lot of fun spending the evening drinking and eating Italian food like a glutton. Patrick had the flash drive around his neck on a chain, which he then concealed under his shirt, so I began to feel at ease about the whole thing. After a while, we somehow ended up at a party where a beautiful Italian woman approached us. Although she was interested in us, there was a language barrier. Eventually, she tried her hand at a few phrases in broken English and introduced herself as Maria, a local girl. Hello, signers. You are Americans? Hey, doll. Yeah, we're from the US of A. Whoa, you like Italy? Can't complain. Can't complain. You come with me tomorrow, I show you a nice place. Good food, my friend runs the ristorante. That's nice lady, but we're kind of busy. No, we'll be there. Before I could object, Patrick made plans with this woman, and I was left glaring at him. One night out was fine, but this is too much. We're here on vacation, okay? Did you see how hot she was? The handoff isn't until the day after tomorrow, it's not a big deal. Besides, what if the hotel staff find it weird that we're two brothers traveling Europe, and all we do is stay holed up in our hotel, huh? You just said that we were being too cautious, and now you think the hotel staff is going to pay attention to our travel habits? Come on, be serious. I'm going out tomorrow and you can't stop me. Look, we went out tonight and it was fine, wasn't it? Patrick was being stubborn about meeting this girl, and I decided to let it slide, even though I wasn't happy about it. I felt like he wasn't taking the job seriously. I mean, going out for parties and trying to get with girls when there's 50 grand on the line? That felt like pure stupidity if you ask me. I resolved to babysit him and make sure nothing happened to the flash drive while we went around acting like tourists. The next morning we traveled for an hour to reach a little restaurant on the outskirts of the city. When we got there, the whole restaurant was empty and alarm bells began to go off. However, the girl came out to greet us and everything seemed to be above board. After we had some appetizers though, I heard two motorcycles outside. All of a sudden, men in leather jackets burst into the restaurant and pulled their guns on us. Looking around, I saw that the waiter had slinked away, and it was just us three against these thugs. What's going on? You guys want money? Take it, but don't you dare hurt us. We're American citizens, and you'll have to answer to the embassy if anything happens to us. It's not money we're after. It's that little thing around your friend's neck. I'm sure he will give it to us gladly. Great work, all of you. I hope your boss remembers the agreement. One of the thugs shook his head and walked forward with a briefcase full of money. I don't remember exactly how much was in there, but it was a hell of a lot more than $50,000. Patrick grabbed the briefcase with a smirk on his face and then removed the flash drive from his neck. The girl grabbed it and then smiled. It was me on one end and all four of them facing me. I had been trapped. So what exactly is going on, Patrick? Are you working with the mafia now? What can I say? I'm an opportunist. In March, I got a phone call from a burner account, and I began to speak to a member of a Neapolitan crime syndicate. They want the USB since it's got information about all the crime bosses in Italy. The guy who reached out to Benjamin, the one who set this up? Yeah, he's from a rival family. He had stolen the flash drive from the people who paid me and was using it to blackmail the mob. Now, normally they would go in guns blazing to get it back. But why do that when I was willing to deliver it to them on a platter? Where does that leave me? You guys just gonna let me walk away from this? Getting rid of you would be too much trouble. You can't go to the police anyway, so yes, go back to your boss and tell him what happened. When Maria said this, the two thugs turned on her and started speaking in rapid Italian. As the three of them were arguing, Patrick walked over to me with a smile on his face. You were never cut out for this life, Oscar. I played you and you're the one who's going to go back to Dallas with your tail between your legs. How does it feel, huh? I don't know what came over me, but I saw red. To be honest, I didn't think I was making it out of that restaurant alive, despite what Maria said. I acted out of desperation and charged at Patrick, football style. The moments after that were pure chaos. One of the thugs pulled out a gun, but Maria punched him in the face. Then she took out her gun and started screaming at the other thug in Italian. Patrick was knocked out by my tackle, and I looked over as Maria took out handcuffs. I helped her subdue the two thugs. Then she turned to me and began to speak in fluent English. I gawked at her as she said, "You idiot. Why did you do that?" "I was speaking to them about letting you go. Then you did that." "What do you mean, lady? How was I supposed to know that?" "I guess you're right. I'm Maria. I work with Interpol. I was undercover with this crime family for the last year, and we've been trying to get our hands on the data your friend just handed over." After that revelation, she went out of the restaurant. I was left alone with two handcuffed thugs and one unconscious colleague. Maria returned with a throng of police officers, and we were all carted away to a police station. That's where most of the story ends, and you may be wondering, how is this guy talking about all this? Well, I got my revenge on Patrick, Benjamin, and the whole company. I never wanted to be associated with crime, and I realized that whatever I had been doing was wrong. Thankfully, I got a plea deal and testified against my old company. There was a raid at the office of JS Security Solutions thanks to my tip-off. A lot of incriminating evidence was found against Benjamin and his clients, and my old boss eventually ran off to South America. Patrick is still in jail, and I don't think he'll be let out anytime soon. He cited insanity as a defense against a harsh sentence, but that didn't hold any water. But he's not the biggest fish the police caught. Interpol used that flash drive to wreak havoc among the crime bosses of Italy, although the whole affair was quite hush-hush. I had to be put into witness protection, and it was all quite messy. I mean, I was an American citizen who was involved in a European case about Italian crime. It sounds like the setup for a bad joke. After things were finally put in order, I returned to the United States. However, I didn't come back alone. Maria and I had hit it off, and she asked me out after everything was over. I said yes, and we began dating. In 2020, I asked her to move in with me, and she agreed. It's been tough for her to adjust to life in the United States, but she's enjoying it immensely. We got married, and she started her private investigative agency. The work isn't as high profile as it was during her time at Interpol, but it still made her happy. As for me, I decided to get back in touch with my old football contacts after the trip to Italy. Technically, I was out of a job, and I needed to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Looking back on it all, I regret taking up the offer I got from Benjamin at that greasy McDonald's. Even if I was slinging burgers for the rest of my life, it would have been better than getting involved with the wrong people. I had an inkling that the work I was doing wasn't good, but I chose not to question it and run after money instead. I wanted to redeem myself and pursue a career that would actually make me happy. So, I reached out to my old football contacts and tried to get an in as a coach. It wasn't easy. I had been out of the field for a long time and people weren't willing to give me a chance. However, I finally got a job coaching at a small high school in Dallas. The kids here are nice and they have heart. I get along well with everyone here and I enjoy coming to work every day. I keep my past hidden from people here and I focus on living a quiet life. Although I'm sure that even if I did tell everyone what I have been through, nobody would believe me. Honestly, this story ended a lot better than it could have. Only now do I realize what a dangerous game I was playing. I was being used as a pawn by people like Benjamin, who made me do all the dangerous work for them. If I didn't get a wake-up call through Patrick's money-hungry betrayal, I might have ended up injured or worse. A lot of things had to come together perfectly for that encounter to have gone the way it did. If Maria wasn't there, I'm not sure how I could have talked my way out of the situation. If I hadn't tackled Patrick, maybe the two of us would be in trouble. Of course, that's all wishful thinking. If there's anything I can say about my life, it's that the world can be deceptive. I'm just happy that everyone who wronged me or worked at JS Security Solutions is behind bars now. Thanks to Maria, I was able to get out of a sticky situation and I'm living my best life. Who knows? Maybe I would have been behind bars too if not for her.